So, the Survivor, the F3, and me. This is the second F3 I've owned. I love it. As I said in the video before, I bring it everywhere with me. And I mean, it could be any camera. I'd still try it and bring it with me everywhere. But this has been the camera where I find myself. Oi, that's Bart sulking. I find myself just picking it up all the time. And that's what everyone says about the cameras when they find cameras they really like. Excuse me. But it wasn't the case first time around. So this is the second time I've had an F3. The first one I bought when just before my daughter was born. And I really liked it, but I didn't love it. And that could be, I don't know what it was, to be quite honest, but it could have just been, being in a different mindset. It was different times. It was before. I bought it just I think it was a week or 2 weeks just before my daughter was born. My first daughter, my only daughter at the moment. I just like looking at it. It's beautiful. It was a pretty, it was a life-changing moment, obviously, having a child. So, the idea was I already had a film camera, but I wanted something that was a bit better quality than what I had. And I wanted something with interchangeable lenses as well. So, I bought the F3. It came with a 50mm 1.4. And that was a pretty slick lens. I don't really shoot 50 though, so it came with it, and I did use it for a lot of portraits of Ellery and just photos as well, like of life. Shortly after, I bought a 28mm for it, but still, I never fell in love with the camera itself. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the viewfinder. I don't know. It was just, the only difference between that one and this one is this isn't the high eye point viewfinder. This is just a normal one. And the other one wasn't actually a brass body. So when it started wearing, it didn't have brass come through. Well, this one's got brass on it. But I couldn't tell you exactly what it was. I just didn't gel with it, and then I got to a point where I wasn't really shooting it much, so I thought I'd just get rid of it. And for about 6 months, I was shooting, I was shooting my first film camera mostly, which is the Olympus 35 UC. And I was also given a OM1 from a customer of mine who was a professional photographer, and he had a bunch of cameras lying around, and then one day he just came into the shop and dropped that off. So I was like, well, I've got both those cameras. I don't really need the Nikon because I wasn't using it much. And I wasn't shooting film as much then either, so it seemed a bit silly having this and then having those cameras. Even though the F3 I think is a far better camera in every way, basically, like the ergonomics of it, the quality of it, and everything about it. I love this one, but I'll get to that in a minute. And then it's probably like 6 or 7 months passed, and I was like, I kind of wish I didn't sell it. And then I got the itch and bought a second one. And since I bought this one, I have brought it with me everywhere, every single day. So I had the first one for a bit over a year, and maybe just under a year and a half, and then this one I've had for just over a year and a half. So 3 years with an F3 with a bit of a break. And I've just taken loads of photos with it. I've shot probably On this one, I probably shot about 120 rolls. I've shot quite a fair bit. On the first one, maybe less than half of that. And I mostly shoot black and white, and I've only put one roll of colour film through this, which was Ecta 100. I just got an itch one day and I was like, oh, I just want to try it. I was driving, it was when I was driving and I was going past a lot of nice landscapes. I thought, you know what, I'll give it a whirl. So maybe one every 100 black and white rolls, I'll treat myself to a colour roll. And yeah, I've just shot a lot of really important photos. And I don't even know if I wouldn't even say they're, I mean, some of them I think are really good work and something I'll put hopefully in a book in time to come, definitely in zines. But there's just for documenting my life as well. It's sort of the way I've treated it, not even work specific or like a project specific. It's just been with me, and if I see something of any I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but if I see something and I think it's worth shooting, then I'll just shoot it. It's not, I just always have it with me and love the way it feels. I don't usually shoot with the 105 much. I wanted a portrait lens because I didn't have the 50mm, and this is the 105 2.5. And it's a really nice lens, but it's super tight, and I much prefer, as I said, shooting with the 28. That's usually what's on here, but I've got it on the camera filming now. And in saying that though, I've taken my favourite portrait I've ever taken. I was at a tattoo studio, and I was just hovering around shooting for the artist there, and I took one photo of Reese, and I wasn't thinking anything of it at the time. Like, it was just like, it was actually pretty dark inside. It was nighttime as well, and I was just like, I don't even know if this is going to turn out right. And then I took the shot, and then just kept on shooting for a couple more hours. And then when I got the rolls back, or the film back developed, this shot in particular, there's something about it, I don't know, it's just got this darkness to it, and then the rings from the ring light that they use when they're tattooing, that are just reflecting in Reese's glasses, that's sort of all that's light. And then, I mean, you can see the figure of his face and everything, but I just love the way that came out. It looks like the rings of the ring light are actually his eyes, and it looks sort of almost demonic in a way. And it took me, like, I haven't taken that many photos with this where I'm like, oh, I fucking love that photo, that's one of my favorites. But that one in particular, I just love. It's one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. It's my favorite portrait I've ever taken too. But everything else is just mainly the 28mm is glued to this, and I've taken I've taken a lot of photos that I'm really, really happy with the 28. And just the weight of the 28mm, I used the 28mm 2.8, and while it only goes down to 2.8, I love that limitation. I try to, like I said, I use it all the time. I'm saying like I said a lot, but I use that lens all the time, and it's usually glued to this, except for the rare occasions that I take portraits. But at first I was like, it's only 2.8, like, it's a bit slow and struggles when it gets darker. But that limitation, I've been experimenting a lot more and shooting at much slower shutter speeds. And like, at first it's the shutter on this is the shutter button's quite nice. Like, you don't have to press too hard, and it doesn't shake the camera too much. It's it's quite comfortable to use and you have quite good control. But when you're shooting slower than a 30th of a second, you can feel your hand shift when you take that photo. And I've just been working on shooting below a 30th of a second, so keeping it. Some shots I've been taking around like a 1/15 all the way up to a 2-second exposure, just handheld, and just experimenting with them. And like obviously the 2-second ones, they're blurring out, but then you occasionally get some photos that come through that just, I don't know, it sort of represents the moment to me much better than what it would be if I could just, if I had infinite ISO, like on a digital camera, like, well, not infinite, but I could bump up the ISO and then, open it up to like 1.4, then it's, you're going to get a clearer image like a brighter image, of course, but there's something about having that limitation and working with it, and then the flaws, technically the flaws in the photo, what give it, the photo itself, more character, and to me give it much more value. To me, those photos show that it was shot at night. It wasn't perfectly lit. And yeah, I think that's sort of a direction I want to lean into more, is just forcing myself to try new things with that limitation in mind. But that's a bit on the lens rather than the F3 itself. But yeah, I mean, you can't kill it apparently. So I was driving around with, like I said, I drive around with it. Like even when I go to the shops, I just throw it on me. Like I feel like a bit of a dickhead, like carrying it through local shops. But I don't want to leave it in the car and someone pinch it as well. That's the hood we live in. But yeah, I bring it everywhere I go, and and just having it with me all the time just forces me to shoot it, which is just really, really nice. And like I said, it's become part of who I am. I got a bit off topic there, but what I was getting at is it's very, very durable. Obviously, it's like the brass bottom, brass top, and it survived a car crash. I don't know what other I'm sure some other cameras would survive that, but to be just on the passenger seat, didn't have a seatbelt on, and it just rolled around in the cabin, and then just clean the glass off it and clean the dirt off it. And the first advance was a bit crunchy. There was little bits of glass under the lever. I've got film in here, so I'm not going to advance and shoot it. But yeah, that first, after I advanced it once and took a photo, it was fine. And the shutters, all the shutter speeds seem to be correct. The light meter's fine. The viewfinder wasn't damaged. The mirror wasn't damaged. Nothing was damaged, except for this. There's a tiny dent on the top, but I already had, like when I bought it, it had a tiny dent on it anyway. But there's another small dent on the face there now. But who cares? It works. And yeah, it's just become something I don't think I'll ever get rid of. And I've obviously, you get gas, you just want to buy new things all the time and keep things exciting. But every time I look at something and then you go down the rabbit hole and it's like, oh yeah, I want to get that now. I literally, I'll just pick this up and I'm just like, I don't think I need more than this. It does everything I need to. And what it doesn't do makes me love it even more. I will say one thing that's a bit problematic if you're shooting street and it's quiet is the shutter slap is pretty loud. It's a great sounding shutter, but yeah, there's been a few times where people, you take photos on the street and they get a bit iffy about what you're taking a photo of. A lot of the time it's of them, and yeah, so it's fun talking your way out of it. Sometimes you just ignore them and pretend you're shooting something else, and then they move on. But sometimes they come up to you and it's a bit of a situation, but that's part of the game as well. You have to be able to work your way through those situations politely, of course. Anyway, that's a rambling about the F3 and my relation with it. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. My only worry is that, you know, it has to take batteries, which I really do. That's probably actually the biggest drawback. I really wish it was fully mechanical, so then you just have that peace of mind that it can just last forever if you replace the parts. But, you know, you can't have everything, and security is definitely something you can't have. Maybe that's why you like it even more, or I like it even more, because it's just really nice to hold and play with. Yeah, you know it can't last forever, and nothing lasts forever, but you don't know when this is going to just stop working. So hopefully that never happens, but yeah. One other thing I will say as well, I don't know if it's my light meter, but a lot of my photos, they were coming out just a little bit underexposed. That could have just been me, like, because I shoot fully manual, I don't use aperture priority. Yeah, so they were always just coming out a bit flat, and I was like, well, I thought it was my lens at first, to be quite honest, because I thought it was my lens and a combination of just shooting film. But then I'd use the lens on the digital camera, and then I wouldn't have that issue. I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on here. And then I changed the exposure to +1 on this, and it just seems to give it the punch that I was missing. So if other people who use F3 have that issue, then maybe bumping up the exposure dial to +1 or whatever you need to will do the trick. But since I've done that, I did that at maybe, it seems, I don't know, I feel a bit stupid, but it took me a while to come around to being like, oh, maybe I should actually play around with this, and because I wasn't getting the results I want. And then since I've done that, they've just been perfect. Like, the only time, like, I very rarely miss exposure, like get the exposure wrong now. Unless it's just like a very questionable lighting. It might just be slightly off, but I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's even more so, but it does the job. But yeah, that's the F3. I survived the crash with this, and now we're going to go on and do some pretty cool things together. So anyway, be good, Godspeed, and until next time.